Welcome back. We're now hearing from the crypto czar, David Sachs, that says that the war on crypto is over and that we will see a Bitcoin boom from here. But a lot of people have been asking, what is going on in the market? Well, now we're hearing the likes of some Bitcoin mining companies actually selling their Bitcoin. As they've been acquiring Bitcoin, they've been acquiring companies and acquiring more Bitcoin mining capacity. And meanwhile, to me, this could potentially indicate that we're approaching the top of the market, but a lot of people have been asking, when are we going higher? Many of the altcoins, besides XRP, Solana, and a few other kind of lower market cap coins, have done over a 10x. But many of the other coins in the market, especially the big ones like Ethereum, Cardano, Polygon, these have not even reached their previous record highs, let alone new record highs. But there is a lot of bullish sentiment in the market, including Raoul Pal from Real Vision saying that crypto could witness an extended bull market this cycle. And for me, this is a top indicator. And so today we're going to be discussing the top indicators in the market and letting us know whether we are at or near the top of the market and what you need to do today to prepare immediately for a potential bull run, bear run, or maybe something in between. And by the way, $1 million Bitcoin is still in play, and we're going to discuss that as well. We got a lot to discuss. Make sure you guys give the video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss a new video. We upload almost every single day. A lot of content here on the channel, a lot of things to think about. And really what we try to do is prepare you to make your own good financial decisions in your own portfolio based on a lot of different factors and research about these investments. Let's get right into today's topics. So as you guys can see here, Raoul Pal is starting to become extremely bullish and letting his followers know what's going on. But what I'm going to explain to you in this video specifically about this is this could potentially give us an indication of when the market is actually going to top out. And it's probably going to be before Raoul Pal says. So Raoul Pal says that crypto markets could witness an extended bull run that goes longer than most are expecting. In a speech at the SWE Basecamp event, Pal said that despite the elongation of the cycle due to a slower than expected rate cutting cycle from the Federal Reserve, crypto markets are in the midst of entering what he refers to as the banana zone, or the most parabolic phase of the digital asset market cycle. He said, quote, "It can't be clearer to me. I've shown you the macro evidence, the technical evidence, the sentiment evidence. Everything suggests to him, hold onto your hats, don't F this up. Don't lose control of your tokens. Don't use leverage. Don't get your wallet hacked. Just sit with it. Be careful. Don't get fear of missing out or FOMO. And do all the right things, and we'll go up in the next phase." That's going to be harder because when it happens, we'll have a 35% drop and you'll say, is it over? And you'll definitely be sure it's over. And everybody on Twitter will tell you it's over, and it won't be over. Now, by the way, we could potentially already be, most of the market has retraced from the top of the market, right? The top of the market was in November, December. We call it the Trump pump. And the markets basically across the board have retraced that. Now, here's the deal with what Raoul Pal is saying. He could be accurate. But if you guys were on my channel last cycle, specifically in 2021, when we started to notice that the market was rotating to the downside, and I started to call a bear market and the rotation into the bear market, we saw like massive pushback against that because other YouTubers were out here telling their viewers that we had an extended cycle. Guys, there's no such thing as an extended cycle. The cycle is the cycle, right? If the cycle is 10 months, great. If it's a year, great. If it's 2 years, great. We don't know. We don't know what the geo or global economic situation is going to be. And so I do talk about the 4-year cycle as kind of like a guide. But the guide, for me, whenever there's predictions of dates, everything happens before that. It's the same thing by the rumor, sell the news, right? If the rumor is that we're going longer into the bull market, right, and it's not going to end in 2025, Well, that tells me it's going to end in 2025 because everybody's going to be anticipating that. The other thing to keep in mind, well, let me continue reading what Raoul Pal says. He says, by our work, we suggest that because of the elongation of the business cycle, because rates were higher for longer, the forward-looking liquidity suggests that, again, probabilistically speaking, without any guarantees, the whole thing goes into Q1 or Q2 of next year, 2026, which would align with Trump trying to win the midterms as well. So everything's lined up for us. I think we've started. Now, here's the deal. In the previous cycle, okay, in 2021, Raoul Pal said, it was either early 2021 or 2020, he said that they were eyeing basically September of 2021 for the top of the market. And that's basically where the top of the market was. Maybe not for Bitcoin, but for most of the altcoins, they topped in September, October of 2021. This is 2021. Bitcoin went a little bit longer than that, but it topped out. And I remember in the end of September, maybe October 2021, it was just like a shock to everybody because Raoul Pal said that I think he was out of Bitcoin and in Ethereum, or out of Ethereum and in Bitcoin, one of the two. Like, he was flipping his portfolio, and everybody was like freaking out. People were saying, like, what are you talking about, Raoul Pal? I thought that you were bullish on this and bullish on that. And he's like, I am, but I'm moving. And then all of these other YouTubers kept saying extended cycle, June of 2022 was going to be the top of the market. And it was really the macro bottom for most of the coins. And so I don't think that we are going to actually go into Q1 or Q2, maybe Q1, but definitely not Q2 of next year. I don't think that is the case. And if it is, again, this is the exact same play, not that Raoul Pal was pulling last cycle, but that other YouTubers were pulling. They kept saying extended cycle, extended cycle, extended cycle. We're going to go into June or Q2 of the year after, when the historic, bull run ends, right? Which is 12 to 18 months after the Bitcoin halving cycle, which we are in right now. And because the markets are so down and a lot of people are kind of feeling it in their pockets, I think this could be the catalyst for a very, very rapid bull run, right, over the next 3 to 6 months. And where the markets keep going up, everybody gets super bullish, everybody flips out of bearish mode. They keep saying, oh, well, Raoul Pal said that we have an extended cycle. We have an extended cycle, so we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. And to be honest with you, people who are smart money, like Raoul Pal, I'm not saying he's going to do this, but people on his level, like with that type of money and that kind of resource, they're going to be selling. They're going to be selling into the rally. Remember, sell the rip, buy the dip. And so this is what we're talking about. And there's other indicators too that we are bullish, but I have bullish with caution, right? Because let's just talk about this. Bitcoin is transitioning from a risk hedge asset from risk to a hedge asset as institutions and governments adopt Bitcoin. That's according to the Bitwise chief investment officer. We also are hearing from the crypto czar, right, David Sachs, that the war on crypto is over. And he said that this is going to create a boom for Bitcoin specifically. Let's listen to what he says. Because again, there's still a lot of bullish sentiment here. And so I'm not saying that we're in a bear market or that we're going to be in a bear market immediately, but I do think the further we go, the closer we are, and we have to prepare for it. Otherwise, we're going to be caught off guard when the market drops and we didn't take any profits out of the market, right? Let's listen to what David Sachs says here. Whoops, forgot the sound. Let's restart. Let's put the sound on and let's listen in. Let me make sure it's loud enough for you guys to hear it.
We did repeal Biden's exec order on AI, which was 100 pages of unnecessary regulation on AI. We've ended the war on crypto, and I think we're trying to stop the regulatory capture that benefits large incumbents. So you have all these things, and there's been other things that have been done on the economy as well. But I do think that this sets us up for a Trump boom in the future. It's just that a lot of these changes take time to play out.
So he's saying that this is going to create a Bitcoin boom, again, in the future, not today, not tomorrow, maybe not even next week, but the markets aren't hearing that. They're just hearing Bitcoin boom, right? And that's what's being pushed out. We're also seeing the likes of Binance's founder, CZ, saying that Bitcoin could hit $500,000 to $1 million in this cycle. Do you think that's possible? Well, Bitcoin could climb anywhere between 500,000 and 1 million this cycle, and the total crypto market cap could touch $5 trillion by the end of this year, 2025, according to CZ. And again, that would be in line with my thesis that we are going to top out in 2025, right? Anybody who's telling you that we're not going to top this year, I mean, I don't know why they're saying that. Here's the deal. We may not top in 2025, but I'd rather be in profit than in 2026 saying, oh, we're in another bear market. Because I've already been through 2 bear markets. I've already been through 2 bull markets, right? Well, I guess this is the 3rd bull market. And trust me, you do not want to be in the bear market with no profits, because then you have to wait 4 more years for the markets to reclaim potentially their all-time record highs, unless you're in coins that don't have any value and don't do anything. This is very important that you understand this, because if you don't, and you don't prepare, and you don't understand what your exit strategy is, you're going to exit the market. Guys, in 2021, I told my viewers in the middle of the year, I said, by this time next year, there are going to be people who are multimillionaires that are broke, because they're going to keep trading the market. They're not going to sit on the sidelines. They're not going to say, okay, bull market, it may be settling down. Let me kind of wind down these trades. And they're going to keep doubling down. This is what happened with all the over leverage with Celsius, BlockFi, 3 Hours Capital, Terra Luna. I mean, I keep going on and on, FTX as well. And so that's important to understand. The other thing to keep in mind is right now the market cap of all of crypto is $3 trillion. So what CZ is saying is could touch 5 trillion, which would be less than doubling where we are today. Which, how do we get to, unless he's specifically talking about Bitcoin, but I think it said crypto. He said the total crypto market cap could reach 5 trillion by the end of the year. So if the entire market cap of crypto just basically less than doubles, then how does Bitcoin hit $500,000 when it's only 100,000 right now? But again, a lot of people are not going to think about that. They're just going to say, oh, CZ said we're going to hit $1 million. Raoul Powell said we're going to go into Q2 of next year, so let me just keep holding. No, guys. They're not your personal financial advisor. I'm not your personal financial advisor. You have to do your own research. But if a really rich person is telling me, oh, this is going to be the top of the market, do you think that everybody's going to be waiting and waiting and waiting? No, they're going to be selling way before that. That's how the markets operate. And meanwhile, we're also hearing from Kevin O'Leary saying that a strategic Bitcoin reserve will never happen. Remember, the markets are pricing all of this stuff that they've been talking about in. But that doesn't mean these things are going to occur. So everybody's waiting until the second half of the year. Maybe Congress will pass a stablecoin bill. Maybe they'll pass a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Maybe they'll start buying Bitcoin. But guys, all indications that we've covered on this channel indicate that it's not going to happen. It's going to take a lot longer than people anticipate. And so if everybody's hoping and the market is anticipating a strategic Bitcoin reserve or a stablecoin bill, and then it doesn't happen in 2025, guess where the markets go? Much, much, much lower. All right, so let's listen to Kevin O'Leary and see what he said. This is at a recent, I don't know, I mean, it looks like a graduation, but I think it was a conference. And I believe Anthony Scaramucci was also there. He's another Bitcoin proponent. But let's listen to what Kevin O'Leary says about the strategic Bitcoin reserve not happening.
Michael Saylor is talking his book, all right? The guy sells stock and pref shares and debt and then buys Bitcoin with it. The stock trades at twice the value of the inherent Bitcoin. That smells like something that ain't going to work long term. Just saying. I like the guy, but it has nothing to do with strategic reserve of Bitcoin, which will never happen because we'll never get buy off on a bipartisan basis. Michael.
Whoa. And so, yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before with MicroStrategy, that what they're doing is very, very risky, and that there is a lot of unknowns about how this is all going to play out. This could be really good for crypto and Bitcoin, or this could be really bad, because if strategy does get margin called or forced to sell some of their Bitcoin, this can cause a shockwave of fear into the market, and people are, and institutions and all of this are going to sell. And so Kevin O'Leary has a very good point here. He also talks and says that institutions won't touch Ethereum, and says that Bitcoin is their only play. And so this kind of puts a damper on the rest of the markets. And by the way, I've been looking at some metrics on some exchanges about some of the trading activity of some of these top coins and some of the coins, the altcoins that we talk about. I mean, the trading is so thin at this point. It's really, it seems like almost a full bear market in the middle of a bull market, which could be a bull trap, or it could be a bear trap. I don't know. I mean, this is what we talk about on this channel, where the markets could go. A lot of people expect me to say, well, this is where we're going to go. We're going to end, we're going to top out on this date at this time. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to lay out the groundwork, the foundation for building a portfolio, building a strategy, and also identifying topish signals, right? The more people who write in the comments, oh, Cryptoviser, you're just fudding. Raoul Pal, he's saying it's an extended cycle. It's definitely going to be an extended cycle. We're definitely going into 2026. There's no way that the bull run is going to be over in 2020. The more I see comments like that, the more I say, yep, we're going to be topping out way, way, way before Raoul Pal says, right? Because it is their only option. Everything else is just a conversation at this point, right? And so the institutions buying Bitcoin now, they are the exit liquidity for the top of the market. And all the altcoins that are going to follow, it's just going to be speculation. Because what Kevin O'Leary is saying is true. We just heard from BlackRock's chief investment officer the other day in an interview, and she said, we covered this, I think, 1 or 2 days ago, but she said that they're looking at Bitcoin and a little bit of Ethereum, but that's a far distant second, right? Far distant second. It's not a lot. But if we look at the metrics of the market, right, not what we want to happen in the market, but we look at the metrics, what is actually going on. I mean, we're hearing strategic Bitcoin reserve after strategic Bitcoin reserve at the state levels are being shut down, right? Arizona just vetoed it the other day. Florida has now withdrawn their strategic Bitcoin reserve bill from consideration. The two bills were both filed just a few months ago, and they sought to allow investment of public funds in Bitcoin. That was pulled back. And so the market has already priced in that we're going to have some type of strategic reserve. And we're not getting that. We're not getting that. Well, what are we also seeing? We're also seeing the Bitcoin miners are now selling. They are selling, as the title of this video or thumbnail of this video probably states. Riot Platforms posted their operations updates for April of 2025. And here what you can see is that they sold 475 Bitcoin for about $40 million. And they sold at $81,000. Okay. Now, this is just an indication, in my view, that yes, we are getting close. Because when the Bitcoin mining companies are capitulating in a bull market at this very, I don't want to say very low, but 30% off the all-time record highs, yeah, it's kind of another indicator, right? And so we've already gone through a lot of indicators. Raoul Pal saying it's going to be an extended cycle, copying YouTubers from last cycle, which was absolute nonsense. We did not have an extended cycle. We are seeing a transition, but as David Sachs says, he's the crypto czar. He says this is going to be in the future. This is going to take time. And people are not listening to that. They don't think that it's going to take time. They think it's going to happen tomorrow. CZ saying $1 million this cycle with only a $5 trillion total market cap. Kevin O'Leary saying strategic Bitcoin reserves not happening. Florida saying strategic reserves not happening. Arizona said it wasn't happening. Riot is selling their Bitcoin. And by the way, you may not agree with this, that, oh, well, they shouldn't, like, they're making Bitcoin, that's their revenue, why would they sell it? Well, they sold 475 and they only produced 463. So they sold more than they made, right? So they actually were in a net loss for the month. And so obviously there could be other reasons. Riot Platforms is a big company, but it's an indicator. It's definitely an indicator, right? So I'm taking this indicator and it's just adding another tick mark next to we're probably close to the top, right? But on the other side, we see the Bitcoin ETFs purchasing a lot of Bitcoin, right? And so you can see basically from the middle of April through where we are in the beginning of May, it's been day after day of inflows, right? Billions of dollars of money going back into the Bitcoin ETFs. This is, I would imagine, why we're seeing the rise from $80,000 to $95,000 in the price of Bitcoin is because there's no liquidity left, right? When MicroStrategy was buying at the beginning of 2025, the ETFs were selling, so they were the liquidity. Now, the ETFs are buying and nobody's really selling, so that's why the price is going up. And this could be the catalyst for major moves to the upside. Again, combined with everything else that we've talked about and everything else that we talk about on this channel, it would appear to me that over the next 3 to 6 months, we are going to be in a topish time, right? A topish period in the markets. But a lot of people don't fully realize like how short of a period of time that the actual upside happens, right? Like you can see here from November to January of 2024 to 2025 is when we had the upside in the market, what we call the Trump pump. Most of that happened within the first week of that pump, and then everything else after was just the volatility to kind of keep it elevated, but it didn't work and it came down a little bit. But you can see even in previous cycles, this is only the bull run really only occurred for a few months. And so we had a little pump in the beginning of 2024. We had a big pump in the end of 2024. We may only have one pump left. I mean, you could see on this chart, one pump in 2020, end of 2020 into 2021, pump at the beginning of the year, and then a pump at the end of the year, and then bear market. And so people would think, oh, it's going to last, we're going to have a bull run for a full year. Like we've already been in the bull run for a full year. We are now in the 12 to 18 month period after the Bitcoin halving, which historically is when the top of the market occurs, right? But we're also seeing things like this, is how much Bitcoin can Berkshire Hathaway buy? And listen, I think that it's possible over the next 5 to 10 years, we do see Berkshire Hathaway buying because Warren Buffett is now retired. So new CEO, new chairman, probably going to have a different viewpoint on the future. And this could be really good for Berkshire shareholders, as well as the whole crypto ecosystem, right? Just a shared continual growth of this new digital world of finance. But remember, Berkshire Hathaway has a huge cash pile. They have about $350 billion. This was 350 times more than Dr. Evil wanted in that movie. What was the movie called? I don't remember. But it was a good movie. Anyway, $350 billion they have cash right now. This is enough to buy almost 18% of the Bitcoin supply because the total Bitcoin market cap right now is about $1.9 trillion. And so there's a potential that that's going to happen in the future. But again, this is way down the line, way maybe years or maybe even a decade. And so we have to put all of this into perspective and really understand like what is going to be the right time for us to look at the market. What is going to be the right time for us to sell into a bull run? Because the time, in my view, to sell is to sell the rip. Buy the dip, sell the rip. But this coming dip, I'm not buying just yet. Like I do think that at this point in the cycle, when we do top out, or when you sell, right? For me, when I sell, I'm probably going to trade a little bit more, but I'm going to be very cautious because the downside can happen very rapidly, especially with the metrics that I've been seeing about how much actual trading is going on these exchanges, because there's really not that much going on right now. So any major move or sale order or buy order can move the markets and get everybody excited, but that moving of the markets could just be to low trading or low liquidity. And low liquidity or low trading and an upside move typically is very, very short before you come right back down. Anyway, there's other things going on in the other coins that I thought would be important to talk about, but it also kind of indicates where the rest of the market is. Vitalik now says he wants to speed up Ethereum by 100x and make it as simple as Bitcoin. The proposed shift in architecture could simplify Ethereum while enhancing its zero-knowledge capabilities. Now, here's the deal. This will be a 4-phase transition, and this is obviously going to take multiple years. We covered a little bit about this in previous videos, similar to the Cardano. It's a new kind of Ethereum virtual machine aimed at boosting the chain's performance while making it simpler in the process. Vitalik Buterin claimed that through the proposed changes, Ethereum can become closer to as simple as Bitcoin within 5 years. One of the best things about Bitcoin is how beautifully simple the protocol is, he said. So 5 years, right? But on Ethereum, that probably means 7 or 10 years, which again is at least the next cycle. And so what catalyst, besides this recent Pectra upgrade, which just went into effect, is going to really drive the price of Ethereum higher, or the narrative about Ethereum. Because everybody knows about DeFi, everybody knows about the DeFi protocols, everybody knows about the benefits of DeFi, and all the corporations know about this. But none of them are really diving deep into it. We haven't even seen lending and borrowing really pick up in crypto. When lending and borrowing starts to really pick up, also another indicator of topish time in the market. And we may see that, especially, as Ethereum has not hit a record all-time high this cycle yet. And there's a lot of people who are betting on it. I mean, I'm seeing social media posts, people saying that they're 100% in Ethereum at this point. They're going very heavy in Ethereum because they think that it's going to pump. Well, this could also be a downside if people are also betting against it on the other side. So we have to be aware of these things. Cardano is also now claiming that Bitcoin OS will complete the first bridgeless cross-chain Bitcoin transfer between Bitcoin and Cardano. Now, apparently this already occurred. Bitcoin OS reports that it successfully executed the first ever bridgeless cross-chain transfer of Bitcoin, moving one Bitcoin between the Bitcoin and Cardano blockchains without relying on traditional intermediaries. Now, here's the deal. Cardano's been talking about this for a while and saying that they're going to change the way that blockchains interact by not using the bridges, right? They don't even they haven't even integrated traditional bridges because they say that these bridges are not secure and all of this. But even though the rest of crypto uses the bridges, Cardano will not implement those bridges. So this Bitcoin OS needs to work. And there also needs to be a trust level within the rest of the ecosystem, right? With the Ethereum developers, with the Solana developers, the Avalanche developers, Layer 2 developers, et cetera. They need to have trust that this Cardano bridge or bridgeless thing is going to work and be safe and secure. Otherwise, they're not going to use it. And so because Cardano has not enabled any type of bridging or interoperability prior to this, I would imagine this is more built for Cardano developers to move into Bitcoin, not for Bitcoin or Ethereum developers to move into Cardano. Because the way to build the trust with the other ecosystems, I believe, is to welcome them into the ecosystem and bring them in through the bridges that they use, not force them to go through another channel that they're not familiar with to then go use a bridge to Cardano. And so therefore, I don't necessarily think that we're going to see this as the big announcement Cardano thought it would be. Maybe during the previous cycle, it would have been, but interoperability now, now that you have the technology to bridge or bridgeless bridge Cardano with other ecosystems, now you got to get the developers to trust that those bridges work and actually start using it so that their proof of concept becomes an actual viable product. And this could obviously impact Cardano's price movements, but I do think, again, this is going to take a lot longer than a lot of holders and probably even the Cardano ecosystem believed, because the hype train that's happened during previous cycles, we've literally had none of that this cycle, right? Even in the meme coin season, like that wasn't even hype. That was like everybody was like, don't buy celebrity meme coins. This is stupid. You're going to lose your money. And people did it anyway. It's like, okay, well, that's not hype, So there's a lot happening in the space, but we have to really keep our eye on the ball because there is going to be a bear market at some point. Nobody knows when it's going to be, right? I'm more on the cautious and conservative investment side, where I like to invest in more of sure things versus low market cap coins that it's like, maybe it's a gamble, maybe one of them will do really well and I'll lose on the rest. But what if none of them do well, right? And so that's kind of what we talk about on this channel and kind of lay it all out. There's going to be a lot of people that just listen to what Raoul Pal says and says, oh yeah, we're going to go into Q2 of next year. I'm telling you guys, in the beginning of 2026, if we are like transitioning into a bear market, which I would imagine we probably will. Listen, there is a potential that we're going to have an extended cycle. But the Federal Reserve has already said they're not going to lower rates that many times. And if you go back like maybe a year to before I took a little break from YouTube, I would say like, oh no, the Federal Reserve is just bluffing. Like they're going to cut rates and they're going to cut hard at some point. I was wrong about that. I was very wrong. And I think that the Federal Reserve is serious about what they're saying. And I don't think they're just going to lower rates. They may lower rates a little bit. They may even lower it by a lot, like percentage wise. They may lower it, half of what it is, right? What is the percentage right now? 4.5%. They may lower it to 2 or 3%. And the markets will go crazy over it because they think that the Federal Reserve is just going to keep cutting. And then the money's just going to keep flowing like it did in 2020 and 2021. But what if the Federal Reserve cuts 3-4 times, right? They cut by 1 percentage point, 2 percentage points, and now we're down to 2 or 3% interest, right? And the markets go crazy. And then the Federal Reserve says, okay, now we're going to stop because we're not in the pandemic. We don't need to print $5 trillion and lower rates and give unemployment and, defer debt payments for everything. Like, we don't have to do that. And I mean, if you look at what's happening, the Trump administration has re-enabled payments for student loans. So people who haven't been paying student loans, haven't had it in their budget for the last 5 years. Now they're going to go into debt collections if they don't start paying it. And now, whether you think it's right or wrong, I'm just telling you the analysis because it's happening. And so that's a net negative for the economy because those people who may have had a little bit of money left over, but most of them probably are paycheck to paycheck, now that money has to go back to paying a student loan versus being able to invest or buy stuff at the store to invigorate the economy. And so on the people who are saying potential recession side, it kind of potentially is going to be that. Now, again, I don't want that to happen. I hope that it doesn't happen, that we go into a recession and then all that. But the indicators are there that that's what's going to happen. And, where prices are right now, what if the tariff situation doesn't get resolved? And or what if it just continues the way that it is? There's a lag effect from when these companies purchase items to when it's received in the US or when they have to pay for it or whatever the situation is. And so the products that we're getting now are not necessarily tariffed products. But what happens in 6 months when they are? And now companies have to raise prices, and then we have inflation again. The Federal Reserve, if they were cutting rates and now we have inflation, what are they going to do? They're going to have to raise rates, even if it was caused by something else. And so that could potentially put us in a recession, and that could potentially have a major impact on the markets. So these are all the factors. And by the way, there's way more factors, right? I try to cover as much as possible in these videos. But, really what I do a lot of, and you guys can do the same thing, is just analyze what the billionaires are saying because they have people who do all this research for them. So when you're looking at Raoul Pal or David Sachs or CZ or whoever, Mike Novogratz, Anthony Scaramucci, Kevin O'Leary, Michael Saylor, right? You just have to understand like what lens they're talking about. Because people listen to Michael Saylor like he's a god, like he is Satoshi himself. Maybe he is. But Michael Saylor, he's just a guy trying to make his company successful, maybe in an untraditional way, but that's what he's trying to do. And Elon Musk, for instance, he told us back in 2019 we were going to have robo-taxis by 2020. We still don't have them. It's 5 years later, 6 years later, So I don't take everything that Michael Saylor says as gospel, but a lot of people do. And a lot of people are 100% of MicroStrategy, even though, to Kevin O'Leary's point, MicroStrategy, their stock is trading 2x to what the underlying Bitcoin is. It's a premium. As we've seen with grayscale products, that premium will close at some point. And when that premium closes, what happens to the valuation of MicroStrategy, the Bitcoin, the debt issuance, the selling the shares on the open market to buy more Bitcoin? Like that whole thesis could potentially collapse. And if it does, what does MicroStrategy do then? What are they going to do in a bear market? We're going to have to wait and see. What are you going to do in a bear market? That's the question you should be asking. And so we need to prepare for the bear market. That's what I'm doing. That's what the title of this video says. Because the Bitcoin miners have already started selling. And maybe, just maybe, the Bitcoin mining companies, they learned from the previous cycle when they were selling in the bear market. And now they're starting to offload in the bull market. because in the bear market, there's no liquidity, there's no exit liquidity. So you can't really exit your positions, especially when you are holding large quantities of Bitcoin. They have 20,000 Bitcoin almost, right? So what if they needed to sell 10,000 of that? In a bear market, price is going lower. In a bull market, you have the liquidity for the price to even go higher, even though you're selling because somebody's buying. And so are we going to have an extended cycle? Probably not. It may be a little bit further than where we went in the previous cycles, but I think we're going to be earlier, to be honest. Because remember, the Bitcoin halving was earlier than the previous cycle. It was earlier than the cycle before that in terms of time frame up in the year. So if we go by that metric, the bull run will be over in October based on the previous cycle. And so I'm putting it before that even. And so I think we're going to have the bull run top out probably after September, but before January. So somewhere in that last quarter of the year, potentially even before that. Because right now we're basically in May. So we have May, June, July, 3 months until August. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. Let me know what you guys think down below. Don't forget to give the video a free thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss a new video. And I'll see you when I see you. Crypto on.